Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something most people are afraid to admit. Your life changes the moment you stop needing validation. We grow up being taught to trust everyone, to lean on people, to believe that success is a group project. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people are not built for your ambition. And that's not an insult. It's reality. When you are alone, there are no excuses, no one to blame, no one to distract you, no one to carry the weight of your decisions. And that's powerful. Being alone means every win is yours and every failure teaches you exactly what needs to change. Alone forces you to build discipline instead of depending on motivation. Alone teaches you to keep promises to yourself, which is the rarest skill on earth. Now let's talk about trust. Trust is not something you give because you're kind. Trust is something people earn through consistent behavior over time. Most people don't stab you in the back. They just stop showing up when it gets hard. They quit when the sacrifice becomes real. They doubt when your vision makes them uncomfortable. So no, don't hate people. But don't hand them the steering wheel of your life either. While you're alone, build quietly. Work when no one is clapping. Study when no one is watching. Train your mind to do the hard thing, especially when it hurts. Because success doesn't come from having more friends. It comes from having higher standards. And one day, when you built something solid, something unshakable, you'll notice something interesting. The right people will find you. Not because you begged them, not because you trusted too early, but because your results spoke louder than your words. Until then, protect your focus. Protect your vision, protect your energy, stay alone if you must. Stay disciplined no matter what. And remember, the goal isn't isolation forever. The goal is strength before connection. Self-reliance is the foundation of real success because everything meaningful in life begins with your ability to govern yourself. Before support systems, before partnerships, before recognition, there is you, your habits, your standards, and the choices you make when no one is watching. Discipline is not something that can be borrowed from another person. Vision cannot be outsourced. Work ethic cannot be transferred through motivation or encouragement. These are internal assets built through repetition, struggle, and personal accountability. Without them, even the strongest team becomes a crutch rather than a catalyst. When you lack self-reliance, you become dependent on external energy to move forward. You wait for reminders, for approval, for someone else to push you when resistance shows up. That approach might work briefly, but it collapses the moment circumstances change. Real success demands consistency, and consistency only comes from internal discipline. It's the ability to show up tired, uncertain, and uncomfortable, yet still do the work. No partner can wake up early for you. No mentor can make decisions in your place. At the end of every critical moment, it is your character that determines the outcome. Vision operates the same way. If you do not clearly understand where you are going and why it matters, you will be easily influenced by the opinions of others. You'll shift direction based on trends, criticism, or convenience. A self-reliant person holds a steady internal compass. They can listen to advice without surrendering authority over their life. They don't collapse under doubt because their sense of purpose isn't rented from someone else's belief. It is owned, tested, and refined through experience. Work ethic is the final proof of self-reliance. It's easy to feel committed when things are exciting or when others are watching. It's much harder to stay committed when progress is slow and results are invisible. That's where self-reliance separates aspiration from achievement. Teams and relationships amplify effort, but they cannot replace it. If your contribution is weak, collaboration only magnifies failure. If your foundation is unstable, support becomes pressure instead of strength. When you stand firmly on your own discipline, vision, and work ethic, relationships enhance your growth instead of rescuing you from collapse. Success stops being fragile because it no longer depends on circumstances, motivation, or people staying the same. Trust too early is the fastest way to lose focus because it shifts your attention away from your mission and places it in the hands of uncertainty. When you give trust before it is earned, you begin adjusting your decisions to accommodate others instead of honoring your own priorities. You explain your plans, soften your standards, and dilute your vision in an effort to maintain harmony. What starts as openness slowly becomes distraction. Focus requires clarity, and clarity disappears when too many unproven voices influence your direction. People don't always betray you out of evil. Often they do it out of convenience, fear, or weakness. Most people want comfort more than growth. When your goals demand sacrifice, patience, or long-term commitment, many will quietly step away or subtly undermine what they don't have the courage to pursue themselves. They may doubt your pace, question your intensity, or suggest safer alternatives, not because they wish you harm, but because your ambition exposes their own limitations.
If you trusted them too early, their hesitation becomes your hesitation. Fear plays an even larger role. Some people retreat the moment responsibility increases. They agree with your vision when it's abstract, but disappear when execution requires risk. Others fear being left behind, so they attempt to slow you down under the disguise of concern. Their words may sound supportive, but their actions reveal uncertainty. When you mistake early agreement for loyalty, you allow fear that isn't yours to influence your decisions. Convenience is the quietest form of betrayal. People choose what benefits them in the moment, especially when the cost of standing with you becomes inconvenient. They cancel, delay, forget, or disengage, not dramatically, but consistently enough to fracture momentum. If your focus depends on their reliability, your progress becomes unstable. You start compensating, waiting, or adjusting timelines, all while convincing yourself that patience is the same as alignment. Early trust also creates emotional dependency.
You begin seeking reassurance instead of results. You measure progress by approval rather than execution. Focus weakens because energy leaks into managing relationships instead of mastering your craft. True alignment reveals itself over time through consistent action, not promises or enthusiasm. Trust should be built slowly, reinforced by behavior, and protected by boundaries so that your focus remains intact and your momentum stays yours. To control loneliness is not a weakness. It's a training ground because it strips life down to its essentials and removes the noise that usually hides our flaws.
When you are alone, there is no audience to impress and no one to distract you from uncomfortable truths. You are forced to confront your habits, your excuses, and the stories you tell yourself about why you can't move forward. This exposure is uncomfortable, but it is also where growth begins. Comfort protects the ego while loneliness challenges it, demanding honesty and self-awareness.
Being alone forces clarity in a way that constant connection never can. Without the influence of opinions, expectations, or comparisons, your thoughts become sharper. You begin to understand what you actually want instead of what you've been conditioned to pursue. Goals stop being borrowed and start becoming intentional. Clarity emerges because silence creates space for reflection, and reflection reveals priorities. In loneliness, you learn to distinguish between what truly matters and what merely fills time. Accountability also becomes unavoidable. There's no one else to blame when progress stalls. No environment, no relationship, no circumstance absorbs responsibility for your choices.
Every outcome becomes a mirror. This level of ownership is heavy, but it is also empowering. When you accept that you are the common denominator in your results, you gain control over change. Loneliness teaches you that discipline is not enforced by others. It is a promise you keep with yourself. Each day becomes a test of integrity rather than motivation.
Mental toughness is forged in this space as well. Being alone means learning how to sit with discomfort instead of escaping it. There are no immediate distractions to numb doubt, boredom, or frustration. You develop the ability to endure emotional resistance without collapsing or quitting. Over time, this resilience becomes part of your identity. You stop needing external reassurance to continue. You move forward because stopping no longer feels safer than pushing through. Comfort, by contrast, weakens these traits. It encourages dependence, avoidance, and complacency. Loneliness removes the safety net and demands strength, patience, and perseverance. It teaches you how to stand firm when there is no applause, no validation, and no guarantee of results, shaping a mindset capable of withstanding pressure long before success arrives. Success demands standards, not sympathy, because progress is built on consistency, not emotion. Standards define what you accept from yourself and others, while sympathy often blurs those lines in the name of comfort or kindness. When you allow emotions to override principles, you compromise execution. You make exceptions, delay decisions, and tolerate behavior that quietly erodes momentum. High standards are not about being cold or unfeeling. They are about protecting the integrity of your goals from forces that dilute focus and discipline. Sympathy becomes dangerous when it replaces accountability. It tempts you to lower expectations, excuse poor performance, or hold back necessary decisions to avoid discomfort. Over time, this weakens both leadership and personal growth. You begin prioritizing how people feel in the moment over what the mission requires in the long term. Success does not respond to intentions or empathy alone. It responds to action, clarity, and repeatable excellence. Standards create an environment where results are inevitable, not optional. Until someone proves alignment with your values, your mission must come first.
Alignment is not declared. It is demonstrated through behavior, consistency, and sacrifice. Many people agree with your vision verbally, but resist the discipline required to support it. Others share enthusiasm, but not endurance. If you allow unproven alignment to influence your decisions, you risk drifting away from what matters most.
Your time, energy, and focus are finite resources, and success demands that they be invested with intention. Putting the mission first requires emotional maturity. It means being willing to disappoint others to remain faithful to your purpose. It means understanding that not everyone is meant to walk the entire journey with you. Some people are temporary contributors, some are observers, and some are obstacles disguised as support. Standards help you recognize the difference without resentment or guilt. When values are non-negotiable, decisions become clearer and execution becomes sharper. You stop negotiating with inconsistency and start building momentum through alignment. Sympathy may win approval, but standards build respect and results. By choosing the mission over emotional comfort, you create a foundation strong enough to support both success and the right relationships when they truly belong there.